Hey everybody, welcome to the August of 2019 Patrons Q&A video. A couple of things I want to talk about first before we get on and answer these questions, which I want to try and do as quickly as possible. Is number one, we are now up to 203 people on Patreon, and that is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for supporting me and helping me continue doing the things that I'm doing. And the second thing is to say that videos are there's going to be a sort of a slight slowdown, or maybe slightly bigger gap between videos, just for a very short while. I have a lot of quite important videos that are requiring me to do a lot of work before I can actually produce them. And a couple of them are going to be knocked out soon, and that should make things a little bit easier, but there is going to be sort of slightly larger gaps just because I'm trying to get stuff done. Because I've got my accounts and all sorts of things to work out still in the next month or so, so I'm overworking myself a little bit and I need to stop. Reno is with me.
Hello.
She can speak better than me. I think that's all I needed to cover. Yes, right, answer questions.
Questions. So first question is from Spondig D. That was really hard to say. It says, hi Spicy, have you ever had a tank slapper? Keep up the great content.
Never had a proper tank slapper. Had a bit of a speed wobble on Derek at around about 90-ish. But I just pinned the throttle as much as I could and it sort of sorted itself out, but not a proper tank slapper, no.
Craig Johnston asks, who are your top 3 content creators on YouTube?
At the moment, it's very varied. I really enjoy the videos that Niall Red makes. I also really like this old Tony stuff. Forgotten Weapons, and it's hard to pick out 3 individual ones because I rather have sort of favourites from genres of videos, so it's a bit hard to say which exact 3, but they're 3 that when they put a video up, I'm straight on it and I'm really sort of interested to see what they put to do.
James the Naked Snake asks, what period or periods of history intrigues you the most and why? Also, will this now count as 2 questions?
Yes, because we were only supposed to be answering 1 question per person. I think that depends whether you mean human history or world history. If it's world history, I'd like to see the Earth just as sort of life was forming, sort of what was going on then. That would be very interesting. As for human history, maybe about 14,000 years ago, to see if we really were an advanced civilization that got stunted by a meteorite comet strike, or whether it was a load of rubbish. I don't know. You might know about that if you've watched Joe Rogan and people like that, but yeah, I'll be interested to know if that's the case. It seems like there is some evidence for it.
Alan Urquhart asks, what has surprised you the most about riding cruises? For me, it was how relaxed and easy they are to ride.
Probably the agility. Now, I know I've only ridden 125 cruises, so I can't really compare to a large CC cruiser. I am planning to do a video on a large CC cruiser in this summer. I want to make sure I do that. But yeah, it was just the agility and the fun of riding them. It was not something I was expecting from that bike. But then, as I said, that's what you shouldn't go into these things with preconceptions of what something will be like.
Venomous Attack says, I know it is a weird one, but how come with music videos you don't see motorbikes, and how many songs do you know that has motorbikes in them with the video or talking about them?
I think it comes down to sort of popularity. If you look at the UK, for instance, there's like 40 million cars or something and about 1.5 million bikes. If they have a car in it, it's going to appeal to more people than if they have a bike. But equally, there are videos with bikes and music videos with bikes. There's a lot of rappers from certain genres will use bikes in the background, but they're normally more as sort of posing machines. Puff Daddy had a video where he's riding along on a bike and then suddenly just yanks the front brake on for no apparent reason and just washes out. I don't know if that was intended or what. It looked very realistic. If anyone knows the story behind that, please let us know. But I think it comes down to just popularity on the masses. In a similar way as I said about advertising, they don't bother putting it on TV because so few people ride bikes. It's better to directly connect with them. Also, there's also a Macklemore song about his scooter.
What is like push along scooter?
No.
Robo Ninja 300 says, out of all of the Lexmoto bikes you've test ridden, which one has been your personal favourite? And what do you think about the Lexmoto LXR 380?
Right, so the Lexmoto Adrenaline, I had a bike of that model style. I had the Pulse, which was Lexmoto before it became Lexmoto, and I had a Sinus, and basically, yeah, the Adrenaline is the one that I still love the most. Is it the best? Well, it depends what you're trying to do with the bike, but for me, that's the one that I always found the most fun. And the LXR 380, I don't know how much I can say yet. I get told stuff early, and I'm never sure what I can and can't say, but be sure, the second I can get my hands on one to do a review on it, I will, because I think it will be very eagerly anticipated by many people. Many, so they can slate it, because it's one of the first large Chinese bikes. Before you jump off on one and go, there's loads of large CC Chinese, but not as big as a recognised company as Lexmoto.
Matt Ryan says, if I pose this sentence as a question, does that mean I'll get my name read out?
Yes.
The Bannisters asks, what would be worse? 100 rat-sized elephants in your garden, or 100 elephant-sized rats?
This is very easy. Imagine one. You have one little tiny elephant.
Aww.
Isn't he cute? Like, imagine a little giraffe, like this big.
Yeah.
But in proper proportions. Opposed to 1 4-ton rat.
Oh my god.
Now times it by 100.
Jeez.
Though if there's 100 little elephants, they could get feisty. But then I'd rather have one rat, one elephant-sized rat, than 1,000 small elephants.
I will create an army of them and take over the world. Imagine them all going
Everyone's
at
going to
the
have
same
destroyed
time.
ankles.
Tim Irvine asks, when you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I think I wanted to be like a scientist or a chemist or something. So I remember when I was very, very young, I used to play games like that. We used to mess around. But as I grew up, I thought I was going to work for my family's company, which was sort of, don't know how much I've said about it in the past, so I'm just not going to say. It was a company which existed, and I was told up until the age of about 16 that I'd be working for it. And as I've mentioned I think it was the Brief History of Spice, where it might be in that video, it might be in a different one. Kind of that all couldn't happen for legal reasons, because of someone dying and a will and all this sort of information and whatever. So it kind of left me not knowing what I wanted to do at a very poignant point in my life, and that maybe says why I end up doing this. Because the thing that I enjoy doing the most is being creative, but who knows?
Jordan Wiley asks, are you still vaping? I think vaping can be a confusing topic, and you would probably make a good video explaining how it works.
I wouldn't bother making a video on how it works. There's millions of people out there that can explain how vaping works. My personal view on it is that, well, I don't understand why vaping and smoking's got such a strong connection, because the use of nicotine is not mutually exclusive of vaping. In fact, the juices I make are either 0 or very low nicotine. In fact, I'm going to have to make some more soon, and I've run out of nicotine, and I'm not planning to put any in it. So it's just something that confuses me. Part of it people get confused by. It's like it's not the same thing. Not that I think nicotine in itself is that bad for you. I don't know exactly. I mean, I don't want to make any great claims here, but from the science I've seen, it's like alone that doesn't do what all the chemicals in cigarettes do. So yeah, but I do vape still. Yeah.
John Champkin asks, if you could pick only one line from any song, what would it be?
Probably from Tool's, how was it called? Right in Two. And am I going to be able to remember it off the top of my head? It's like something along the lines of monkey killing monkey over pieces of the ground. Give a monkey thumbs, he'll build a club and beat his brother down. Repugnant is the creature who squanders the ability to look to the heavens and contemplate his fleeting time here. Something along those lines. But it's basically, it's kind of a wide-scale view of just looking at how human beings are, and how, like on social media, you'll see people who seem to spend their entire lives bickering with each other on social media about politics and this, that and the other, on subjects which they very often don't know anything about and will not ever have an influence in. Some people waste their time and their life doing this, and if they were to take a moment and sort of think that, like me right now, I'm sat in a chair on top of a planet, because from my perspective that's the way it is, globe, floating in space, in a solar system, in a galaxy, in a universe that we don't fully understand, and we're here bickering about stupid stuff and killing each other over bits of ground. It's you can lose faith in humanity, but I think that song can have a positive message.
Yes, I agree. Alan Walters says, if you could bring any 3 people back from history for an evening of conversation, who would you pick and what would you ask them?
I had a thought about this one, and it's a bit tricky because I'm finding it hard to think of who was sort of influential enough that I'd be like, well, I'd really like to talk to that person who hasn't already had a lot of what they would have had to say put out there and put into books and stuff. I would have liked to have met my mum's dad because he died about a year before I was born. He was an inventor and an engineer, and I think had he been around as I was a child, I probably would have learned that creating things and making things and working with tools and that sort of thing is the thing that I have been the most interested in as I've grown up. So him. I don't know, probably some ancient person from some ancient time, if we can talk and we can sort of like go, so what was it like? Tell me the weird things you believe. What's the glowing ball in the sky?
You'd be like a god to me. Come back and be like, you'd come back and you'd have all the answers to everything. And you'd be like some mystic, magical man.
I could make anything. Doing a simple bit of chemistry, and they're like, oh, he's a magician. No, you'd probably get killed for being like a witch.
You'd probably get burnt.
Burn him! Burn him!
Robert Ryan asks, how did you find out that you enjoyed making art out of scrap metal? Big fan, been subscribed since Jesse.
Well, I've always been interested in making things. I've always been a creative sort of person that enjoyed doing things, and that manifested itself as photography for a very long time because I realised I couldn't draw. But when I was 12, I bought a nut and bolt sculpture of a dog, and I was like, I'd love to do that one day. And then as I progressed through life, I started to wanted to learn welding and things like that, and it was like, maybe I should try and do this, but I never did. I just always, it's one of those things, I was like, always that, I'd love to do that one day. Those are always things you'll never do. So you have to just do them. When the time's right. But I found myself in a position where I'd quit my job as a chef. I'd been doing that social media job for a while. That didn't go great. Then I found myself in a position where I was looking for work, and I was trying to find a job in an industry that I enjoyed, namely motorcycles. And the more that I looked into it, the harder I realised how difficult it was to get a job in it, and then also realised how I probably didn't want a job in the commercial side of motorcycles. So I'd rather keep to my side, the way that I interact with them. And then I had the opportunity, I just was like, why don't I give it a go? Why don't I try and make these clocks and give it a go? And now we're like 3 years later and things are still going great. I'm on my like 80-something of clock. I really do need to spend more time doing it, but equally where YouTube has kind of picked up recently, I'm really getting to a flow of making videos, and obviously with the help of my patrons, making videos is much more rewarding to me sort of financially, so I can spend more time doing it. But I do really miss being in the garage. But I've actually got a few videos that I need to get out of the way first, like the Insta360 review. I'm talking about, like, those are the videos I need to get done. Then I've got some tool review videos to do, and that will mean that I only need to test the tools, which means I can be in the garage and make clocks while doing the videos at the same time. So yeah, basically that's sort of how I got to now. Feisty blue tip.
Shush, you're being too noisy. We are trying to film a video. Do you mind? Oh, it stopped. Oh no. Cloud Vaping says, hi, the Spicy 110. If you could build any bike from the ground up, what would it be and why? P.S. I have been following your channel for a long time now and love all the videos that you make. They always make me smile when I have a bad day at work.
That's awesome, because that's the most important thing. If my videos at least make you smile, then they've been successful, even if you're laughing at me rather than laughing with me. But if I've improved your life rather than that's or your day, that's a good thing. What was the first part?
First part was, if you could build a bike, any bike from the ground up.
Right. Oh, I've had a hell of a couple of days. We've been working on Reno's bike. I'll do a video, vlog talking about it. It was a nightmare, but let's just say I caught a motorcycle.
Let's just say Spicy saved my bike, and I'm
with one arm,
truly
a bike
grateful.
with one wheel on it at the time. It starts to go down, and somehow I'm just like, BAM!
Ninja reflexes.
Fuck, what was it again?
It was.
I'm remembering bike build from the ground up. Probably a supermoto, probably something with 6 speeds, and maybe a 500cc engine of some sort, maybe a twin, like a parallel twin supermoto. That'd be interesting, rather than a single. I think there might be, but it's just the MT. People have got, oh, it's just the MT-07. It's like, well, kind of, but imagine that. Maybe the MT-07 engine slapped in a DRZ frame. That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. Dr. Bomber says, I'm 25 years old and I'm looking at my first bike around Christmas time. Should I go for the DAS course or work my way up through the classes of bike and licenses, as I've no road riding experience? Keep it up, bro. I love the channel.
Simply go for the highest level license you can get at your age. There's no point you going to do like A1, A2, A. I've heard people sort of make that sort of suggestion that, like, oh, it's so terrible because you have to do. No, you just stick on a CBT so you can do an A2, and then when you can do your full A, do your full A. But for you, being at 25, do the full A, because even though you will be doing the test on a slightly larger bike, it will be virtually no different to what you do an A2 on. And when it comes down to it, it's not the license that you have that's going to be the factor, it's going to be the bike that you buy afterwards. So do your full license and then buy a bike which will be suitable for how you find riding bikes. Obviously you could be like me, which is I jumped onto my first large bike to do my A license and just had no problems and was out on the road in 5 minutes, or some people find it more difficult to deal with. I think a lot of that comes down to if you are a smaller person with a bigger, heavier bike, that's a big difference. To me, I'm slightly larger than the average bear, and most bikes are like toys to me anyway, so it's kind of like, oh, I'll pick this up. So yeah, do your full A and then just pick a bike which is suitable for what you need. And I will say now, because lots of people ask questions like this, no one can really answer that question for you. You need to know what you want the bike to do, what you need the bike to do, what your personal preferences in bikes are, and at the end of the day what you want. And that should possibly be the most important one, as long as it can do most of what you need it to do.
Me Festo, my Festo, May Festo.
My Festo.
May Festo.
That may be wrong. Still.
May Festo.
We're terrible people. Can I call you Steve from now on?
Steve asks, it is more and more difficult to get originals, so K-pop, yay, yeah or nah?
As the music goes, I'm not a big fan. Not really looked into it that much. What does surprise me is how massive and like hugely fanatical the fan base is behind these people, and yet a lot of people here don't really realise that how like big a thing it is out there. But then I suppose it's probably no different to the way the people were with the Beatles. My mum went and saw the Beatles live, and she was sick, and she said it was ruined by girls just screaming and passing out around her. She was like, I was here to listen to the music and all I heard was you screaming. So
McGuinness, not McGuinness, okay, Angus McGuinness, don't hate me, says, can you please do a review of the Sinis Terrain 125 and take it green laning up Nemesis Hill? There aren't many reviews that are up to standard and none really testing it off-road. A spicy review is needed.
I'd love for some people to come with me up that hill, because a lot of people online have said a lot of things about that. Oh, it's not that steep, it's only a slight hill. Yeah. But I try. I haven't seen it what it's like in years. It was getting bad, though. Going down won't be a problem, it's going back up it, but I'm sure it could do it. But yeah,
Valcorian says, congrats to Reno on completing the race for life. Thank you. Spicy, my question is this. Do you have advice for riders looking to move on to the A2 or full licence, as I'm tempted but a bit anxious about paying out only to fail it?
Well, I have a playlist for Mod 1, Mod 2. I've also done a video talking about theory. Don't sweat it, it's not that difficult. And with anything in life, if it's so easy to do that, you know, you can not worry about failing at it, well then it's probably not really worth it in the end, and everyone will be doing it. So see the challenge as an inspiring thing, and it adds to the value of passing it rather than putting you off trying. If you can ride a bike, you can pass the A2. Definitely.
I was worried when I started it, and to be honest, they give you so much training. You get at least a few days with them. They'll go through everything with you, so you feel really confident by the end of it. So don't worry.
The reality is your riding improved vastly.
Oh, it did. I became such a better rider after doing my A2.
Yeah, on our 125, she was a bit scary, and there was this real jump up in like confidence and ability, because I think it was because the bike was so much better than your old bike with the feedback
Yeah,
and
it
the brakes,
was.
and it was just, it's an easy, larger machines are easier to ride than 125s in general, although I still think 125s are great fun. The throttle control and the clutch control is much harder on a bike like that, and larger, heavier bikes are more stable and have better brakes. And most people who have gone to do their A2 normally say, "Oh my god, I can't believe how much easier it is to ride this bike. I was scared it was going to be so much harder." So don't be in fear. Do it.
Do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Do it now. Make a decision.
I don't know if they asked a second question or this was part of their first one that they posted twice.
No one will answer it.
Because the first half is the same, but it says, given all your reviews and biking experience, which has been your favourite 125 to ride and why? And are there any you're really keen to ride next?
Two favourites out of all of them: Pulse Adrenaline, stroke Lex Moto Adrenaline, the Adrenaline. The Diablo 125 scooter. I loved that thing. It was so fun to buzz around on that little thing, go to the shops and stuff. But also the Commando. I know I haven't done my review of the Lex Moto Michigan yet. I do like that bike, and it has got some things about it that I prefer over the but if just for bike that I was given for a while, and kind of I think back to like, oh, miss that. The the Diablo scooter. And I would say the same for Lex Moto Adrenaline, but I've rode one of those 7 years. I spent my time on that.
Rode it into the ground, quite literally.
It was not the ground, it was into a car in the ground.
God.
And I wasn't riding it when I hit the ground, I was flying.
So you can fly too now. Ben Davies asks, do you know when the Lex Moto LXR 380 is going to be ready? I know the provisional release date was towards the end of this year, but since you are hoping to review it, I thought you may have the inside scoop direct from Lex Moto.
Apologies, that wasn't your question. As with what I said earlier on, I don't know what I know I'm allowed to say, so I will say nothing. But I'm very interested in trying one out if they become available.
Jason Robbins says, you're out on a dinner date. Starter, dessert, or both?
Starter. Or, to be honest with us, we normally either go for a starter and a main. Or we just get a main. Because neither of us tend to want like that much.
Sometimes if I'm out with friends or something, it depends how hungry I am. I might get everything because I love food.
Dessert, even if she couldn't eat anymore, because she has that second stomach for like desserts. Like, oh, I'm stuffed. Would you like some cake?
It's scientifically proven there is room for dessert because the sugar expands your stomach or something like that.
I believe that to be true.
I hope that is true. That's how I see it anyway.
It's also the 20 minutes it takes for it to turn up. Mephisto asked another question. Steve asked another question. Steve, he says, name a movie that you can recommend that isn't a big screen movie. Small stuff that not many people may know about. For example, Bronson, Valhalla Rising, Northwest, or Ace Attorney. Bronson's a good film.
Yeah.
I like Bronson.
I enjoyed that too.
I can never... Right, we've been watching, one or two films a weekend for years now. We've seen a lot of films from the good to the bad, from the well-known to the not-so-well-known, and I cannot remember the name of it, but there's a very unknown sort of film, which I think is, like, was it Taiwanese? No, the knife-fighting one.
Oh, the crazy one.
Someone please remind us what it's called. It's a knife-fighting film, and it's extremely graphic, and there's an awful lot of people getting stabbed in it, and there's one shot where the guy's in like a hallway, and then the guy goes to stick a knife through his throat, and it's the most convincing scene I've ever seen of someone having a knife stuck through their throat. It was brutishly realistic. But that was actually a really, really good film. I can't remember what it was called. And it's not The Raid, because I thought it was that, but it's not.
No, it's like one word or something weird, like, I don't know, Night something or something like that.
Another one is some Jackie Chan films. His old Chinese ones. Like, they're not, I wouldn't say they're well known because they're just his old stuff. It's all, it's Chinese and subtitled, but there's some really funny ones.
What about the Chinese one where they had like he had that mask on, and he was trying to get that girl, but then some other guy came over and he also had a mask, and then she was falling in love with him, and he was like, "No, it's
God.
me."
Yeah,
that was really funny.
That's actual proper Chinese cinema. I think was it Chinese or was it like?
I think it was Chinese.
Yeah, it was Asian cinema. But it's
really
really
funny.
like if you showed your mate it, they'd probably say this is rubbish. But if you accept it is what it is, they're actually really funny films. But I can't give you any names or anything because I can never
we
remember.
Always forget. Jonathan Luckins says GoldenEye or Tomorrow Never Dies.
Well, didn't they make a Tomorrow Never Dies game? So you could be asking with the game or not, and then I'd just say GoldenEye. I think GoldenEye probably. Yeah, because it was GoldenEye. It was I preferred that one.
Al and AJ Wotherspoon. Is that like a different thing for Weatherspoon? Says, what would be your dream bike or bikes if money was ridiculously abundant?
Firstly, I'd like to apologise for Reno. You've probably heard that joke before. Imagine that you got a name like that, and then everyone's going to say to him, "Oh, really? Sounds like Weatherspoon."
And I thought it was like, when they made those meme things of like Will Smith, but then it was like Will Smith with the tiny mouth and the tiny eyes. That made me laugh.
Saying, I can imagine if you had that name, it's just like.
Sorry, I hope to not offend.
The first thing you always come to think of is normally something that someone's going to get said to them a million times over. I've come to learn this from being online. Anyway, dream bike is really difficult to say bike because I've come to the realisation that I was like, okay, I could sell my DRZ and my XJ6 and buy one bike that could do both, and I've come to the conclusion that no bike out there can do the two, or everything they can do to the same extent, because you can't have a big comfortable touring bike that's also super light like a supermoto. So I don't really have one dream bike out there, but if I could have multiple bikes, then yeah, I could easily pick a few things out. Like I'd like a Bonneville because I love the parallel engine in that. The new Street Triple, I'd love to try one of those, but I remember what the old Street Triple was like, and I'd really enjoy that bike. But if I was like, well, I could, sell both bikes and maybe get one, and it's like, yeah, but then I wouldn't have a supermoto, and then that removes that entire side of everything that I enjoy about that side about riding bikes. So I have to be really greedy and just say I can't pick one bike. Even if money was abundantly available to me, it would still be 2 or 3.
Oh, they did also ask bikes in plural too.
Oh, multiple. Oh.
Yeah, what would be your dream bike or bikes?
Bikes, oh, well then, yeah, the ones I've mentioned. Beyond that, is that Dragonfly or a bat? Dragonfly. I don't know. I get to ride all these bikes and I get to try them, but I find that my needs get fulfilled by the 2 bikes that I have, so I don't really yearn for things outside of my grasp, if you see what I mean.
Ewan Chapman says, Hola, Senor Picante. When are we going to stop calling mobile phones mobile phones? That's probably the least used function of my personal pocket device.
True, and I also think it's kind of irrelevant because now most people don't have a landline, so it's just a phone. I think the only time that we need to refer to them as mobile phones is when they're in the context of being in a car. Although if you're in a car and you've got a landline connected to it, I think you've got bigger issues than whole...
Jeez.
How long is the cord? I do think most people, though, have dropped the mobile bit from them.
Benjamin Slade asks, are you going to make a new calendar for 2020? I love your 2019 calendar and use it pretty much every day. I would love to get one for next year if you're going to do one. Smiley face.
Definitely planning on it. I have been taking pictures throughout the year, so hopefully I will be able to put... Well, I'm planning to do it, yes. I want to try and get it organised a bit earlier than I did last time, so I can actually, so people can buy them for Christmas presents rather than at Christmas. Although I think I got them out relatively early. I can't remember if it was October or whatever. But yes, it's something I do plan on doing, but I'm trying not to think about it at the moment. So I've got this... I have a mountain of stuff that I know I need to get done, and I don't really have anyone pushing time limits on me but myself, but I find that I always push on myself constantly, so it is something I will plan to do, but I'm just not mentally going, yes, I'm doing that, but I do plan on it.
Angie Portman says, hey Spicy, I heard you mentioning getting a 360 camera. We've just purchased a VR viewer and can't wait to see some footage from the camera. My question is, do you know of any bikers or biker channels that do VR footage, as I'd love to see some?
Yes, you will have already seen, because I posted this question a long time ago, you will have already seen I've done... Patron's got an exclusive on Bike 360 video because the audio from it was awful because I had it on a bar mount and it was vibrating. I do plan to do another one with a chest mount or something like that, so I get better audio. So that should have already answered the question. As for actually uploading VR content, I don't know of any that exclusively do that or do that with the voice in as well. See, the problem is my software at the moment, although I actually bought new software, an updated version of the software I used to edit 360 videos, and have had problems with it not working. Like I've had with a lot of them. I mean, in fact, put it this way, I'm used 13 to edit, I own 14, and it's now 16. I'm not happy with Sony. But for that reason, I can only export the videos in camera audio at the moment, which is why I can't do full-on vlogs in 360. So, but I'm sure it's possible to do, and someone out there might be doing it, but don't know. But I will mention Hippo Drones at this point because he also uses the Insta360, so he's more likely than others to possibly do it at some point.
Dominic Cummings Hilton says, "Hi there, Spicy. If motorcycles were never developed and only cars were predominantly used for personal transportation, do you think that the government would allow motorcycles to be ridden on the roads today, considering the power-to-weight ratio of these machines and the potential risks to an individual and others?"
I get what you're saying. You're basically saying, like, if the car existed and then the motorbike was only invented now, would people be like, that's a great idea, let's get them on the road? Or would it be, you know, that's way too dangerous, you can't do that? Which I suppose the only logical way that we could have a similarity now is if we come up with flying cars.
Oh, God.
Or maybe autonomous cars, but then that's actually happening. I think it's a difficult one to answer because the way that a lot of things are the way they are now is because in the past people didn't know the risks or didn't consider the risks or more freer, and it's sort of been grandfathered in. I honestly don't know. I don't know if it will be allowed. I guess the facsimile would be basically if you come up with a different design of machine which can be ridden, maybe a hover bike. Would we allow hover bikes on the road? If they're provable to be safe, I don't see why they wouldn't allow it, as long as it works within conjunction of the current road system. So yeah, interesting one. But I think generally it's because the way things are, they are now, is because they were a long time ago and no one really thought about it. We're all controlled, man.
Richard Groves says, "Where do you see yourself in 10 years?"
I don't... Oh, God, I don't even see myself in 6 months.
Jeez.
When you first posted that question, it almost gave me an anxiety attack because I was like, where would I be in 10 years? And I started thinking about it and I'm like, Jesus, this is a thing I spend all my time trying not to think about. Yeah, I don't have the normal sort of comfort of, oh, I work in a job and this is the normal career progression and this is what you'll be doing, and you know, I can't trust that I'll have this job in a year's time. But in being in that sort of a life, it means I have far more opportunities cut open to me, and it's a very rewarding way to live, and I'm very proud that I pushed myself to quit my job and kept working as hard as I have to do what I do. But I do know that as the hours that I'm working now, I don't think I can sustain that for the next 10 years. I need to, once my channel gets bigger and I don't need to produce so many videos, I can spend more time on each video, and maybe producing like a video a week, that would be a nice thing to do, but logistically it's not something I can at the moment. But equally I try and make sure that I don't just chuck out videos for video's sake. I always try and make sure they're actually a good reason for them existing. And part of, I should explain, is I really think about my videos weeks ahead of when you see them. I think about them, I think about what I'm going to say about them, I maybe look into a bit of research on them, I might see what other people think about them. You obviously see on Twitter I asked some random question weeks ago and then some video will pop out and you're like, oh, okay. It's just, but this is kind of like, this is going on now, but the stuff that's going on in my head now is videos that you'll see in maybe 6 weeks' time. In the same way that people get very confused about, like, some people say, oh, it seems like you had nice weather, it's been raining here, and like, well, what was it like 2 weeks ago where you live? Because that's when this was filmed.
The nose, or the nose, I think it's nose.
The nose.
The nose. Says, do you believe helmets actually go bad after 5 years, or do you think the manufacturers are just trying to get you to spend more?
Bit of both. I have helmets sat on my wall now, which are 10 years old, have been through crashes, and I've always been told that if you grab a helmet and you squeeze the brow ridge of the, what's it called, is it EDS? It's like basically the polystyrene, the shock absorbing thing. On an old helmet it can go hard, which means that when you have a crash, rather than getting the absorption from it, you get rock solid plastic basically. Now on those 10-year-old helmets it still feels fine, as far as I know is how I would test a helmet. But I do think with the degradation of the inside of it, with all the moisture and stuff, that starts to disconnect from the helmet, and that's really bad, because then what happens is your head, where your helmet hits the floor, then the liner hits the floor, then your head hits that, and you get multiple concussions. Well, not concussion, multiple forces, opposed to where a helmet's supposed to work and take some of it out. So I think yes, they do go bad, but whether they go bad as quickly as they make out, I don't know if I can be so sure about that. But I would definitely advise replacing your helmet at least minimum every 5 years, which is why I'm currently getting a bit like I really need to replace my helmet, and I really want one of the new Icon helmets, and I'm trying to get them to send me one. But we'll see what happens.
Aaron Holmes says, "Hi Spicy and Reno." Hello.
Hello plane that's flying over. Please ignore.
I'm about to go in for carpal tunnel surgery and will be off the bike for 4 weeks. How did you stay sane when you had your accident and couldn't ride for months?
I didn't. I was nuts.
This is reminding me of your old video you showed me.
Mental degradation of a motorcycle patient.
Yeah.
I lost my bloody no. To fill you with more hope than that, the ways I avoided getting nuts was if you play computer games, although that's going to be a problem for you, you have to realise if you're on carpal tunnel, it might stop you from using your hands. So I say films or box sets or something like that, or go for a walk. I assume just because your hands aren't working, I'm sure you'll be able to go for a walk and stuff. Maybe, I don't know. For me, the problem was in mobility whenever I was off the bike. It was, because it was either the crash where my legs weren't working, or it was the crash, or after the crash where I had the operation on my foot and I couldn't walk. So I was kind of stuck, not being able to do anything at home, and that's when I'd buy like Far Cry, for instance, and just play the hell out of it. Was how I got through mostly. But also just learning stuff. You've got 4 weeks to possibly learn something. Maybe try and learn
anything.
Learn
anything
a language.
New. You could learn I even tried learning some Spanish and learnt a few things in like 2 weeks. So it's possible to do anything.
I would definitely say try and learn something during that time, because that way, if you're building towards something, you can see the progression you've had in a month.
And it keeps you busy as well.
And it's also going to keep you busy, because it's obviously not something like, oh, I'm going to try and tidy this drawer. Do it with your feet, that would be take longer. Learn to use your feet more. I don't know about maybe we're weird, but both of us use our feet like hands quite naturally. And it's weird seeing other people doing it, and like, oh, you're one of us.
You're one of us weird people.
Toe fingers, tingers.
I don't think everyone can do it, because most of my family can, but some of my family can't do it.
A lot of people I know can't do it.
No.
Yeah. We rarely bend over to pick stuff up. We just
use our feet. He's back. He asked another question.
Hang on, did I say only one question on this one or not? Don't really look at it. If I said only one question, to the people who asked more than one, if I didn't, what didn't you say?
This is the last question.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Because you're just holding it together.
I'm just having a meltdown over here. Angus McInnes said, "Hi Spicy, I noticed a few years ago that front tyres are backwards on bikes in respect to the rear and all other vehicles. Why is this? Also looking forward to an Insta 360 green laning vid. Keep up the great content."
Well, as to the green laning 360 video, well, you've experienced some of it partially already.
Hello from the past, but also the future.
And you saw that I got soaked.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, oh, that would be fun. I'm like, yeah, no, I totally love riding in the rain. I used to do it on purpose. It would have been great fun if I didn't have a phone and a £400 camera that I haven't yet reviewed, that are both not watertight on me. So I've now got a Ziploc in my bag, so at least if it happens again, I can just go up to them. They're dry, they're fine, and I can just enjoy being soaked. Although on the day, the drift started playing up, and curses upon you. A plague upon your houses, sir. build a decent camera again. God damn it. The front tyres, however, because, you know, we're sticking to the subject, I noticed a few years ago when I changed my tyres, loads of people kept saying to me, your front tyres are backwards, your front tyres are backwards. And I was like, no, it's not. And they were like, yes, it is. Look, the pattern's backwards. I'm like, no, it's not.
Do you know what the funny thing is? I thought that today when I looked at my front tyre after we did it.
And you're like, oh, on the side of tyres there are an arrow. Why they work backwards, I don't know. I would look for a video on someone else doing that, or I will look into it myself, because I don't know why, but I would imagine it's to do with the way that the tread interacts with the road and pushes the water away. It would be better to have it going in a certain direction rather than another, which means that you will end up having what is the equivalent of reverse tread. But I do know what you mean, because a lot of people keep telling me my tyres are on backwards.
Well, with mine, you know, they've got the big groove things in them.
Yes.
On the front one, the big bit is towards the bike, so I imagine as it turns forward like this way, then it's going to pick up water and fling it out. But on the back one, it's backwards. But that makes sense because when the tyre turns around, it's going to get the water from the ground and fling it away. So I think maybe that's the reason. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not a scientist.
I can guarantee you something, though. An internet expert will give you the answer.
Do you mean like an actual professional? Do you mean someone pretending?
There are both internet experts whose opinions are valued and we should cherish online. And there are also the opinions of all the internet experts who know absolutely nothing about what they're opening their mouths on. Right. Is that the last one?
Yes,
that was the last one?
That was all
We've
the
done
questions.
It. I've done a thing. I've actually achieved something.
Oh my god. Literally, the past few days have just been... like anything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong, pretty much. Yeah. Actually, apart from my bike, you saved it. That could have gone wrong. Yeah. But it didn't.
But think about all the things I've been working on in the past. How many things have I had go bad recently? Just like,
even today.
Did all this work and then this happened, or did all this and then that happened. And
even this video.
Even this video. This is the second time round. We only got in a few questions in the first time round, and
God.
So thank you to the people that support me, and thank you for being understanding if things slow down at times. Trust me, I am always working my arse off. Even to the point that people keep saying to me, like, Spicy, can you please do that sleeping thing? It's probably quite important. And I do appreciate people saying I should look after myself, and I do try my best, but equally you'll have to understand that when you're as driven as me, and you feel like you are on a crest of a wave, so my channel feels like it's doing quite well, you have to make hay while the sun shines, because as soon as the winter kicks in, YouTube views really drop, and I'll be spending more time in the garage doing that sort of stuff. But hopefully by that point I'll have lots more people supporting me, and I can keep pushing to do more and more interesting things. So thank you. There is so many dragonflies flying around.
Where?
There was one flew over there, two flew over there.
I can't see them.
It is the evening because of the mess up with the video earlier on. And it was very nice.
It is quite nice out here, actually. It's very relaxing.
Appreciate the summer that we have it now, because in the winter, you know, you spend a winter thinking about the summer, and we're like, when it finally gets here, you feel so great, but then you forget it's the summer, and then the winter happens, and you're like, damn it, why didn't I appreciate the summer more? Appreciate just being sat outside in shorts and t-shirt and being comfy.
I think that's a good message for life. Just appreciate what you have in the moment, because if you take it for granted,
it's going to get really cold later on.
No.
You're done now. Did I get him? Did I miss?
I don't know. I think you missed. Oh wait, I think he's on you. Hold on. Stay still. Ow. There's one on your knee. Oh, you missed him.
There is also mosquitoes.
Oh my god. I thought there was...
Do you know apparently there's some parts of the country people just don't get mosquitoes?
What?
Apparently some people just don't get...
There's a thing there.
Some parts of the country, they don't get mosquitoes.
Well, I thought we didn't get mosquitoes until I moved in with you, and there's a million mosquitoes everywhere. Ah!
Right, we're being eaten alive. If we make it out... we're being eaten alive. If we survive and get back to the house, the long trip that it is, all those 20 steps, we will see you in the next one. Bye. Send food. If you enjoyed this video and the other content on the channel, please consider following the links in the description to show your support.